righty. Time to relax. You ready to do this crazy thing?
Always.
Yeah, nice.
I look forward to off the clock.
Well, you
So,
have been quite the eager beaver lately when it comes to picking topics for off the clock, because you have a special thing in mind this time, too. You want to let everybody know what we're going to be talking about here?
well, I wanted to talk about The Hills Have Eyes, but not just The Hills Have Eyes the original by Wes Craven, but the one that was remade as well.
Mm.
So,
All right, break it down for us. What do you want to start with? You want to start with the
start with the
original?
original.
Okay.
Start with the original. So I rewatched the original, and I still have much love for it,
Mhm.
but it is a bit dated. Uh,
Mhm.
but the idea was cool, and the premise was neat. Um, the story about it's simple enough. Family heading out to California, start a new life. They got their truck and their trailer, their family members, and in the first, actually, the first and the remake are almost identical.
Mhm.
But in the first one, the family's looking for some silver mine. I thought it'd be just fun to go off road and check out this area.
Mhm.
Now they stop at this place where it's like last place to get gas for like 200 miles.
Yeah, yeah.
And you probably shouldn't even be there if in between gas stations is 200 miles.
Hmm.
That's because no one goes there. And there's probably a reason, at
Hmm.
least in my mind. But, anyways, they go and meet this old guy
Of
who's like
course.
all by himself.
Yeah.
And he warns them, stay on the highway. There's nothing good back there because he knows, because he's been over the years in cahoots with this family of crazy cannibal thieves murdering people that live out in the middle of nowhere. They live
Hmm.
in, actually, I guess, in like an abandoned mine. But the father of the guy driving the trailer was an ex-cop, and he decided that I guess he could take care of his family. So he was going to go take a look in in the back and check out what's
What's
what.
what? Yeah.
And of course, they go back there, and uh, the family's waiting because I guess the family's waiting all the time
Yeah,
for
they got
them.
nothing better to do.
Exactly. They're just
Yeah.
wait for
They don't have
unsuspecting
any
people to come
streaming
along.
services.
These people have nothing, and they certainly don't have looks. They they're all kind of semi-deformed. But anyways, they put out like a chain link thing, give the tire flat channel, flat tire,
Hmm.
and the family's there. So the next thing they do is decide to split up, which is never really a good thing. Now, in reality, I guess it'd probably be a good idea out of necessity. But if you're in a horror movie, which most people don't realize we're in a horror movie, is you don't split up. Never a good thing. Father
Yeah.
goes one way, the husband of the the husband or the father's daughter goes the other way, and they're supposed to see one's going back to the gas station, the other one's going to see if he can find the interstate further down if the road goes anywhere. And like I guess it doesn't really matter about spoiling because it's
I mean,
so
it's such an
old.
old film at
Yeah.
this point, and we are in
Even the
off the clock.
remake is
Yeah.
like 2006. So
Right. Yeah.
the father um, is captured and taken away, not killed, just taken away. And the other guy finds this kind of junk pile and brings back a pile of crap that'll be used later for some trickery shenanigans to try to save themselves. When the other guy gets back, the family dog has, well, both of them are missing at this point, but one of them's been gutted. And that's the one thing. I was like, I get the point where, okay, you found your dog, it's been gutted, so obviously by a human, but you don't tell anybody.
Hmm.
And it says, well, I didn't want to scare people. Well, I don't know. I would kind of want that information so I could make an
Informed
educated
decisions.
decision on
Yes.
what I was going to do and proceed. But this kid doesn't tell anybody. Um, and big mistake.
Yeah, that ends
Well,
up not being
anyways,
a great move. Yeah.
yeah. So then nighttime comes and the family moves on in and uh, plays not so nice with this unsuspecting family. And I guess at the time, the death scenes probably were pretty shocking. They were pointless, quick, sadistic. Uh, it, I mean, when I was watching it, I mean, I've watched so many horror movies. I was like, oh yeah, oh yeah. But I was trying to think back then when it was made. People must have been going, my God, what sick person came up with this movie?
Oh, I
You
mean, it was
know?
pretty unprecedented at the time. Yeah.
Yeah,
There really wasn't anything like that at the time that I
yeah.
could put a finger on. Yeah.
Uh, and then it kind of, I guess, flips a bit to, I wouldn't say like a revenge, but they steal a baby, and the father goes looking for the baby because, of course, pissed off they stole the baby, and
Hmm.
then it's sort of combat to the death to see who's going to survive.
Hmm.
So, um, and then I want to compare it to the new one, and as I said, it was like identical story. Like I thought
Hmm.
maybe they would change it up, and it had been a long time since I'd seen it, so uh, I couldn't remember what had happened, but for some reason I thought there was more to it, but it was almost identical. Only big difference is in the new one, the family arrives at the garage, and there's no hunting for silver. They were going to get on it. The old guy notices this one of the girls who was chasing the dog who ran into the gas station itself, um, went into a room to grab the dog and noticed a bag. I don't think she really looked in it. She kind of touched it, but kind of didn't really do much with it. Just want to get the dog out. But the guy comes and sees, and he sees the bags open, and there's like jewelry, cameras, wallets,
Yeah, all the
and stuff.
evidence.
So he's
Yeah.
suspicious. He's like that she saw it. So he goes out and says, "Look, I'm going to tell you a secret. If you go up here, hang a left. It's a shortcut. It'll save you like 2 hours. You won't find it
Hmm.
on a map, but it's there and it'll take you to the interstate. Shave like 2 hours off." So once again, being sort of a horror fan, if someone said, just take a left, it's not on the map, it'll save you 2 hours, I would
Yeah.
not care. If it's not on a map, I would not be
Hmm.
going on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they did, and unfortunate things happened to them. So this made the old guy sort of just as bad as the
Yeah.
family.
More of an active villain.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
he was in on it because in this one, there's like a McDonald's styrofoam thing, and he opens it up and it's a cut off ear. Why they
Nice.
gave it to him, I have no idea. I guess it was just an effect. And but he's looking through and he sees a picture and he pulls a picture, and of course there's a guy and his girlfriend, and the picture has it where her ears have these certain earrings, and
Mhm.
the ear that's sitting in that container has those same earrings. So you can actually put a face with the year, and
Hmm.
you go, well, guess things didn't work out for that couple. So they
Hmm.
kind of give you a little bit of a taste. And then basically it runs the same way as it I just explained. Although it did happen in the first one too, I didn't mention it. They didn't kill the father right away, but what they do is they use him as a diversion, and they like nail him to this tree. I don't know what kind of a tree it is, whatever tree grows up in the desert, and they light him on fire. Well, actually,
Hmm.
they set off an explosion, which puts him on fire, which draws half the family out and allows the cannibal family in.
Hmm.
And and this one is more of a revenge thing because the guy is the father of the missing child, not the senior father,
Hmm.
is pissed off and he does some rampaging on his own so they can sort of up the violence kind of thing.
Hmm.
And in this one too, they do a lot of special effects makeup. They add to the deformities. I think they went out of their way to try to come up with gruesome looking ways
Yeah.
to uh, to make them look more odd, kind of thing,
Hmm.
and freakish. But I don't know, it was pretty well overall. I would almost say I enjoyed the second one, the remake, better, just for more sort of modern sensibilities, kind of
Hmm.
thing. But as usual, the original was the original, so you
Right.
gotta tip your hat to that one.
Hmm.
But if you haven't seen Hills Have Eyes and you're a horror fan, I would think it would be a must see.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're, if you're looking if you're looking to explore all the different facets of the horror genre and all the different types of horror that are out there, that's a box you probably want to check, is
Yeah,
how I would put it. Yeah.
yeah. It would be along the lines, I guess, of like sort of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Hmm. Yeah.
that kind of visceral violence, and that was
Gravity.
probably so shocking at the time.
Hmm.
I mean, it still is shocking, but I mean, even normal movies now, even if they are cartoonish violence, they it, it's they use so many special effects now that there's it's hard to have gotten around not seeing something. So it wouldn't be as much of a shock to the system or a kick to the gut as it used to be.
Yeah. Well, I think too, um, the thing that I always think about when it comes to horror films or slasher films is what I kind of categorize that as, is that the amount that it hits you has everything to do with how invested you are in the characters, right? Because if the characters are basically just fodder, right? Like if you have no attachment to them, if you haven't spent some time with them, if they haven't endeared themselves to you in any way, then what happens to them doesn't really hit you, right? They're
Yeah,
just cattle or chattel, right? They're meat for the soup,
yeah,
so to speak. But I think the best horror films are the ones that have the most punch to them, the ones that have the most impact are the ones where you actually end up feeling something for the characters that are having the stuff done to them, right?
yeah,
Because that's what makes that stuff hit. Because without that, it's just as you say, it's just a special effect, right? There's no real oomph to it.
yeah, yeah. But I guess I don't know. Everyone's
That's why
different.
most slashers don't work for me because
Yeah,
I just can't could care less, right? It's all like I can appreciate the technical aspects of it, right? Like the special effects or whatever, especially when they use a lot of practical effects or they do it in like the old school way and it's not all just CGI.
yeah,
Like there's some artistry to that. But if it's just, you know, slasher for the sake of slasher and there's no real depth or sophistication to it, that's not really going to do much for me as a general rule.
I guess everyone has their own tastes.
Yeah, it's all what you're into, right? It's all what you like and what pushes your buttons and all that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I think back, I had a review on Cutter's Deep where the person, I guess, sort of liked the beginning part of the book, but I guess didn't like the fact that I brought in, uh, you know, Arlington and Claire, sort of had them sort of a budding relationship kind of thing,
Hmm.
which I thought was needed so that it wouldn't just be strictly chaos and craziness all the way through it. There had to be like an anchor to build a
Hmm.
character. But apparently, this person did not want that. They just
Yeah, well,
wanted
that's the thing, right? Like
constant carnage.
some people they just want chaos, right?
Yeah,
They just want to see the world burn. And
yeah,
you know, I would say there's nothing wrong with that, but equally, you know, it's just as understandable why somebody would want more than that, right?
yeah, yeah.
So,
We can't please everyone.
but that's exactly why you can't please everybody all the time, right? It's
Yeah,
impossible to create something that's going to be universally appealing to everyone because everybody doesn't want the same thing.
yeah. Because like Friday the 13th is just one kill after another. Yet
Hmm.
it's endeared by legions of fans.
Hmm.
Now, of
Yeah.
course, the sort of the ending uh kind of made it sort of special, and the sort of the hook,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of thing
Hmm.
was interesting. But
Well,
there
and
was
that's the funny thing too about a lot of horror films is sometimes so much hinges on like one little twist or one
yeah,
little reveal or one little gimmick, and the whole thing gets like hung on that hook essentially,
yeah,
right? And that one little thing has to carry the weight of like all of it, right?
yeah,
That's something you see, I think, in the horror genre more than like a lot of other genres that where that ends up being the case.
so
Yeah.
yeah, well, if we were all the same, it'd be a boring world.
Yeah, indeed.
So that's my take on The Hills Have Eyes.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. There's uh I won't bring it up because I'd have to look it up. I should have.
Looking stuff up is for suckers.
I know, I know. Michael Berryman, who
Okay.
plays Pluto. I mean, he's right on the like the front cover, and he had a very particular look to him, and that was a great piece of casting
Hmm.
for that one. I don't know
Hmm.
how much mileage or what things he's in because he has a very particular look, but he's just a shout out to Michael Berryman because he basically made sort of the movie because he had such an iconic look
Hmm.
kind of thing.
Hmm.
So if you're a horror fan, look up Michael Berryman.
There you
I was
go.
just thinking about that between the two films and stuff, and I was like, the second one is so full of the makeup and special effect, the makeup that they did, but this one just he was able to pull it off, you know,
Hmm.
on his own. And I mean, obviously they knew it because they put him on like the cover.
Sure.
So, but yeah, that's why the first one will always be. I guess I would always give the nod to the original, even if the dialogue and stuff is a bit dated.
Hmm.
It's it has Michael Berryman in it, so there you go.
There you have it. So, speaking of originals and new things, I'm going to talk about something completely different. I'm going to take us down a completely different rabbit hole because I recently watched the new Beverly Hills Cop movie, Axel F. It's Netflix made. It's their big like summer movie release this year.
Uh-huh.
and that was kind of interesting. I enjoyed that in a way that I kind of was expecting, but also kind of was a little bit surprised by. I was a little bit surprised by how warm and fuzzy it made me feel, like in terms of giving me like a nice hit of nostalgia, right when I really needed it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you kind of want that, right? Sometimes you just kind of want something that's sort of comforting and familiar and kind of harkens back to things that you like enjoyed or thought were cool back in the day. And I feel like that movie, for me at least, did a good job of that. There was a lot of like little moments that happened in that film where I was like, oh yeah, this is exactly why I turned this on.
Yeah.
Kind of seeing Eddie Murphy kind of like back in his full glory, like doing his thing, like just as if he hadn't missed a beat from like the 80s was pretty cool. And I don't know, just the vibe of it and the tone of it and the feel of it just had like just hit me just right uh
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed it as well. I mean, it doesn't, for nostalgia's sake, it doesn't hurt that the first 5 minutes of it were just playing all the tunes from the
Yes.
original show,
Yes.
So
Yes,
that was funny.
exactly.
I think
Yeah.
I actually laughed out loud. I was like, da-na-na-na-na. And I was like, really? They're gonna go there?
Yep. Yep.
It was kind of funny.
And like unabashedly, right? And unashamedly, right? Like
Yeah,
they're just like, no, here's the thing you want. Have it, enjoy
yeah,
it. Don't
yeah,
worry. It's
yeah,
fine. Have fun. That's what you're here for.
yeah. I think that's exactly. I think you nailed it on the head. It's I think they brought in like everybody.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't think they missed anybody in the show.
No. Yeah, there was like no stone unturned. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was like a labor of love. They brought everyone in. It was like a uh, excuse me. It was like a reunion, high school reunion or something.
Yeah.
So let's just have
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
The only
I
two
think
th
that, yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was
I
just
was just gonna say that's what it was for me, right? It was like
yeah,
everything I wanted to have happen happened, and every like little like itch I wanted to have scratched got scratched, right? It was
yeah,
like it's like you know, it's just and I think the thing that this movie does where a lot of other movies kind of fail is that it wasn't too heavy-handed with anything, right? It was just like it was just enough to check the box and give you what you wanted, and then it even gives you like a little bit more here and there, like sprinkled in, where it's like you can tell it is a modern film, right? There's some things that happen in that film that are very modern and very much of the time that we're in now, but it still gives you all of the things you wanted from like a proper like sequel or follow up to those original movies. And
yeah,
I just really I really enjoyed that. I really liked it a lot.
yeah. They almost made it seem like it was like, you know, Axel Foley had been transported from
Cryogenically
the
frozen.
80s there. Yeah, because it was like he was laughing because they go out of their way to when he's driving through Beverly Hills at what people do now,
Hmm.
all on their phones, the way they look, and he's doing his signature faces and laughs, and it's just like, well, it's not like that in Detroit. Well, I'm sure
Hmm.
things in Beverly Hills are much different, but um, it was kind of like
Well,
he just stepped off the set of the 80s, and I was like, what are these people doing?
but I thought that was really smart, right? Because they had
Yeah,
that opening scene where he is driving around in Detroit.
yeah,
Right. And you see how it is there versus how it is in Beverly Hills. And I thought that was like a cunning little bit of social commentary, right? That like
yeah,
for certain parts of the country, the world is very different now than it was back then. But for certain parts of the country, it's actually not all that different. Right. And
yeah,
I think that those two scenes, right, where he's driving around in Detroit versus where he's driving around in Beverly Hills kind of illustrate that in a nice, like subtle, kind of clever way, I think.
yeah. It was good. The only two things I wouldn't say they bothered me about it was one was his daughter.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was too over the top how much she despised him. Not even she despised him, but the fact that is like at one point, I mean, this is might be a spoiler, so
Hmm.
if you don't want any kind of spoiler, don't don't listen. But it was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they at one point she's hung out of a garage
Hmm.
by chance. And now, you know, if that happened to me, and my father was like a known hero type cop, I'd probably want to have him close by instead of blowing him off all the time. I
Hmm.
mean, obviously someone's going to kill you, but you go around as if like nothing ever happened. That
Hmm.
bugged me a bit. I know they were trying to build to the where, eventually they're going to
Reconcile.
reconcile, but
Yeah.
I thought that was just a bit heavy-handed, and I was like, you're just starting to annoy me now,
Hmm.
because you're just so weird. And the other thing,
But I feel like that's
well,
a generational thing, right? Because I feel like the thing that captures so well is the social awkwardness that a lot of people in the younger generations have.
yeah, but even so, I mean, self-preservation is self-preservation. If you're being hunted, you'd
Hmm.
seem to want some kind of backup and not be driving around in an open convertible. But of course,
Hmm.
that's just me. I'd be driving in a tank if,
Hmm.
but that, the
Well,
other,
and
yeah,
that, well, yeah, that's the other thing is, right? Like there's certain situations that need to occur just for the sake of the plot, for sure. Yeah. And
yeah,
that's definitely one of them. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they could have done the same way, just not as heavy-handed. They could have been a bit more subtle
Subtle.
about it. Yeah.
Sure.
So that
Sure.
kind of bugged me a bit. The other thing, it didn't bug me. It actually made me sad because it made me think about my own age. But I was
Hmm.
watching, if like when, Eddie Murphy kind of does his slide across the hood of the car or he's running after someone.
Hmm.
I mean, they all look like they shit their pants.
Hmm.
When they're running. I'm just like, you can tell the age,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I, I mean, it's a fact of life. I don't pounce out of bed anymore and start my day. It's more more of a procedure. But yeah, I did notice because you're used to your heroes, sliding across the road, they're chasing, but you could literally see
Hmm.
that they run like old men now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, because
which
they are.
they
Yeah.
are. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah,
I
I
actually
was
thought it was cool that they had the actual actors do as much as they did and didn't just use body doubles and stuff for a lot of
yeah,
those scenes, right? Because they definitely could have, right? They could have faked it a lot more than they did. And actually, there's some really funny stuff about that, right? Like where he fakes like crawling out of the vent at the one point.
yeah.
And he's like, you watch too many movies. Like that's one of the like more clever uses of that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was nothing really a hit against the movie. It was just it just made me feel old. I was kind
Yeah.
of like,
No, that's
yeah,
fair.
yeah,
Yeah.
we all
No, I
we all
think your thing about the daughter is totally spot on. It just like you could tell that they were trying to have a little subplot there, but they didn't really like develop that or flesh that out as much as some of the other stuff they did, and that kind of made it stick out, right?
yeah,
Like that was a little bit of a rough spot for sure. But like taken in the grand scheme of things and like in the whole of the film, I was just able to overlook it or kind of give it a pass just because of all of the other things that it was doing so well. Because I feel like that's the thing, right? Like there's a lot to like in that movie and only like a handful of things that I think are genuinely worth criticizing. So
yeah,
I'd say like overall it definitely like comes up on the right side of the fence.
yeah. No, I thought they did a really good job because something like that can really blow up.
Yeah, it could have been really bad, right? Like it
Yeah,
could have been just absolutely awful. And
yeah,
the fact that it's as good as it is, I think is really impressive.
yeah. So yeah, I laughed through it and I thought it was quite enjoyable. I'm
Mhm.
surprised it didn't get like a theater release.
Yeah, well, I mean, Netflix made it, right?
Well,
Like that's
yeah,
their production, right? So they own it. right. So that's
But
why that's the case.
but
Yeah.
you figured something like with Eddie Murphy willing to come back and do like a film that, some
Hmm.
production company would have wanted it, but maybe he had
Hmm.
a plan like, look, I want to bring all my old pals in. I want to do this reunion,
Hmm.
big goodbye, and production company, they're all, well, they're not marketable. This is not, we want you out in outer space. And he was just like, I'm looking for a production company that'll, let me do it my way. And Netflix like, yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But they pulled the
Yeah.
rabbit out of the hat because they did a good job. It's going to do
I
well
mean,
for them,
I
I think.
signed up for Netflix for a month just to watch that.
Ah,
So they got, they got my monthly fee for a month,
yeah,
so good on them.
yeah. Da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na. That song just sticks in your head too.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, there's some jams. There's some
Yeah,
jams throughout the Beverly Hills Cop soundtracks, that's for sure.
yeah.
I
And it
liked
was
some of the reworkings of the Axel Foley theme too that they sprinkled in through there. There was some cool like variations on it throughout there that were fun to hear too.
when they brought Serge
Yeah, Surge. Yeah, that
back
was
in.
good.
I mean,
Yeah.
that whole real estate thing
Yeah.
was actually amusing because I'm not sure who the woman was that played.
The real estate agent.
Yeah,
Yeah, she
but
was awesome.
she was funny, and it was just like it was like almost like a poke at, I
Mhm.
guess, new generation. Just like,
Yeah.
just like I was like, who would hire this person as a real estate agent? But
It
maybe in
was
Beverly
it was
Hills they
almost
would.
too real.
Yeah,
It was like so
and
real it was funny. Yeah.
this the way she was talking, and it was just like,
No, she
I
really
don't know.
nailed that. That was
Yeah,
really good for
yeah,
sure.
and with the Serge there as kind of like an accent point, no
Hmm.
pun intended because of his accent, but he
Right.
just kind of between the two of them, it was usually considering they were using that whole thing for a whole other purpose
Hmm.
to go and do it, and it just kind of, I don't know, I thought it was really well done.
Yeah. No, there's lots of good stuff. Lots.
Yeah,
I mean, I knew within the first 5 minutes of watching that it was going to be a good time, and it did not
yeah,
disappoint. Right. It kept it going throughout. And it was actually not a short movie either. It was pretty long, but they managed to make it interesting throughout. So that was
yeah,
good
yeah.
times.
Well, yeah. Well, when you figure like the first half hour is just them in like a snowplow,
Hmm.
proving that obviously Axel Foley cannot drive
Yes. Stop
whatsoever.
hitting things.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So, although I thought I'd see, well, I guess he went to Beverly Hills, so I guess it made sense logically. But they build up this other character from the Detroit force,
Hmm.
but then you never sort of see him again
Yeah, yeah,
because he was
yeah.
kind of amusing, especially when he realizes that it wasn't like Axel really wanted to go to a hockey game,
Yeah, yeah,
with him, kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
So, so it would have been cool if he had to like somehow, called him and help out in Beverly Hills or something, but
Hmm.
can only do
Yeah.
so much because obviously it was an homage to the old ways, and that was
Yes.
just sort of setting up the top, and no real use bringing him in because he's already got his old.
Crew
I mean, I
back.
have to admit, I can't remember his name now. Danny, the guy who played the captain. I thought he'd actually passed away,
Oh,
which is sad. I was
yeah,
surprised.
yeah, Taggart, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm trying to think of the actor's name.
Yeah, John, oh
Is it
man.
Danny or something? But anyways,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I
but it was great
yeah,
to see them all.
yeah.
So, because when I saw him, I was, oh my God, they
Hmm.
even got him in. So, so if you're
Yeah.
a completionist, this film is butter. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, it's yeah, yeah. I'd even probably even watch it again. It was so much fun.
Hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. I wouldn't mind watching that one again for sure. And that's saying something because I do not watch movies over again these days as a general rule. It's been a minute since there's been a movie I felt compelled to rewatch like quickly. Uh, but yeah, I think that one would do with a rewatch. But speaking of being a completionist, I think it's time for us to complete our efforts here and wrap this thing up. Uh, we will see you all next time.
See ya.